It's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
I'm Lou, Mega Pilot from Rav's Gator Chat here in beautiful Trump County, Florida. The best place for real news is Real America's Voice.
This is Diane from Rhode Island. Why do I love Real America's Voice? Because they deliver us facts from hosts who love America and love God. What's not to like?
And a week after he gave a primetime address talking about China when it comes to elections, only to then basically say he wasn't going to do anything about it. There are various, I think, mixed messages on China for sure. U.S. and Iraqi officials are disputing reporting that Iran rejected a ceasefire proposal from Trump conveyed to Tehran by Iraq's prime minister. And Iran also called the report completely diversionary and misleading. How are you reading all of that pushback?
I think that President Trump is incredibly frustrated that he is not getting a better outcome out of the war with Iran. This is a president who has won 2 elections in part on the commitment not to start any new wars, and he has now been maximally distracted by this war of choice for nearly the last 6 months, and his popularity is taking a hit as a consequence. The U.S. economy and the global economy is taking a hit. He would like an off-ramp. He has talked a lot about escalation, but in reality, what we've seen from Trump is a surprising amount of restraint, even in terms of the decision to hit Iranian infrastructure. And yes, he did hit a desalination plant. He did hit a couple of Iranian bridges after the 10th warning against Iran that he was going to blow up their infrastructure, the 10th. But what's more notable is how he has not engaged in strikes against Pickaxe Mountain and the nuclear facilities, how he has not gone after broader infrastructure, including energy infrastructure. He's not taking on any more strikes at Iranian leadership, for example, decapitation strikes. He certainly knows where a lot of those people are. He's not using ground troops that have been in position for months now, nor is he taking the oil or Karg Island, as he's spoken on many times. So, I mean, overwhelmingly, what the president has been showing the American people and the Iranian leadership is that he is extremely reluctant to escalate this war. And if you're Iran, if you're the mullahs, or more importantly, the IRGC, the military running that country, you believe that you can continue to engage in strikes against ships and disrupt the Strait of Hormuz, and that the Americans aren't going to do very much against you because they don't want the consequences of all-out war.
Well, look, what I think is fascinating is that, firstly, there has been 13 nights of U.S. attacks on Iran and then the Iranian retaliation towards the Gulf states. Now, last night, overnight, there was no fighting. Yes, there was this incident in the waterway behind me where the U.S. blockade was in effect, and there was an incident between U.S. Marines and an Iranian flagged vessel. But in terms of the actual direct fighting, that's not taking place. And I think there are 3 reasons for that. One may be the fact that the US has effectively run out of military sites in Iran to target, and any other fighting would mean that they would be hitting potentially even civilian sites, but effectively sites which would cause destruction and damage to people away from military bases. The second could potentially be the fact that there is maybe a diplomatic off-ramp taking place behind the scenes. To me, though, that seems very unlikely from the conversations that I've had with my sources who are linked with negotiations, whether it's the Pakistanis, the Qataris, or directly the Iranians. It feels like right now it doesn't seem a moment to de-escalate and to get around the table. And I think that the third could be, is this massive attack that the president is planning? He mentioned this a few days ago, and this break in the fighting that we saw last night could potentially mean that troops are getting their things together to plan this next phase of an attack, which could come in the coming days. So there are three potential options. I've got no idea which route the president could take, or which route, in fact, the Iranians want to take. What I will say, though, is that this waterway behind me, guys, is the real reason that we are in this situation right now. It's been at the very central of this whole conflict for the last 5 months. We know that as a result of the Iranians potentially blocking this waterway and effectively not allowing any vessels through, or targeting vessels in recent days that do not follow their regulated routes. We've seen that the levels of shipping has gone down for an all-time low in 2 months. We've seen the price of oil has gone up to $100 a barrel earlier this week as well. And effectively, the Iranians are having a control over the global energy supply by controlling this waterway, but also the one in the Red Sea too. And now there are huge question marks on how we move forward from this situation that we've been in for quite some time now.
Clearly, I think he's flailing right now because, as pointed out, he doesn't really have a good plan or way ahead. We've launched massive attacks, repeatedly against Iran, and they've not capitulated. They're not going to give up. It pains me to say, this is an unwinnable war for the United States. There's just no way that this regime in Iran, which is now controlled by the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, is going to relent and give up, because they're determined to oppose a foreign force and intervention. So, I think he's threatening, just like he does in the domestic political scene. He tries to threaten and intimidate. It doesn't work with the Iranians, and it's not going to work.
You just said this is an unwinnable war. That's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, that's what I certainly believe. From a standpoint of getting the Iranians to surrender or to give up, there's no way that's going to happen. There needs to be some type of negotiated way forward to open up the Strait of Hormuz, which was open before this conflict, to be able to get the Iranians on some type of path so that there's not going to be a nuclear weapon. And Trump keeps talking about the nuclear weapon. That's sort of a red herring. The Iranians never made a decision to actually fabricate a nuclear weapon. Yes, they were doing things that gave them the capability in the future, but there was no decision to do that. So on your question about boots on the ground, when I think about other conflicts, we had over 100,000 troops in Afghanistan. We had over 170,000 troops in Iraq. We had over 500,000 U.S. troops in Vietnam. None of those conflicts really turned out all that well. If we were to put troops on the ground in Iran, it would be a bloodbath. It really would. It's a country of 94 million people. What are we expecting to accomplish there? He's talking about taking over Karg Island. That's within a missile range of the Iranian mainland. So he doesn't have good option. He keeps hoping that by trying to intimidate the Iranians, they're going to give up. They're not going to. There needs to be some way out of this that's going to be through negotiations. But look at the correspondence dinner last night. It's a very nasty, unserious, mentally unstable individual, and this is the person that the Iranians are going to negotiate with? No wonder why they're looking at us and saying, keep coming at us. We're not going to give up. And unfortunately, now more Iranian people are supportive of the regime than were before the conflict even started.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Saturday, 25 July in the year of our Lord, 2026. Of course, this weekend, the president is looking at a range of options. You have, and we're going to break this down in the second hour in more detail, but there is the Hill newspaper, I think, has got a good piece from administration sources and from the military CENTCOM that there is a alternative. They're looking at an alternative that calls for a massive strikes. And of course, we are feeding assets into the region to, if the president so wants, to have massive strikes. The key to that in this article is that you've got to take control. In fact, the intelligence apparatus. Remember what Brennan is saying now, and all these guys are exactly opposite what the Mossad and the CIA collectively, the exquisite intelligence of the beginning of this war, they were all pushing a decapitation strike. All of them were pushing the president to a decapitation strike that had the Iranian people, had the Persians in the streets overthrowing their government. What we realize is one of the most powerful forces in the world is called nationalism. I'm not a big fan of the World Cup, as you guys know, but if you see in the World Cup, you've got the inklings of real nationalism there, cultural nationalism. What has happened to the Persians since these strikes have happened is even many individuals that hate the Islamic theocratic regime, and I think many of those practice other religions, including some of maybe the ancient religions of ancient Persia, are now kind of bound together, more or less, in support of the regime, or at least the Revolutionary Guard that does seem to me, even though their command structure has been eviscerated, with younger commanders in charge, have even a stronger sense of nationalism. Nationalism is a powerful, powerful force. And maybe we ought to take the lessons from this. If you look at the other alternative, there's the New York Post has an exclusive, and we're going to have Tej up here break it down a little bit later, of a quite massive ground exercise to go in and get all the nuclear material. And the scope of that and the breadth of that is pretty breathtaking. And what that would mean because I think one thing that people around the president are not advising him enough about is how each of these steps only increases the time you're going to be there. The correlation of time with action. Because like the massive bombing campaign, I keep saying, hey, you're still in Germany, you're still in Japan, right? We're still in South Korea. You start taking these things on and you end up with long-term commitments. What we want to avoid is a 10 or 20-year commitment in Persia. That would be the last thing. The Middle East is a sideshow to a sideshow. The Israel situation is a sideshow to the sideshow. And it's time that we got to extract ourselves, and every plan should be around extracting themselves. Also, they got Leo Panetta and others talking about the Straits of Hormuz. It's all down to the Straits of Hormuz. And as you remember, with Captain Fennell on the MOU, when the MOU came out and it had this thing about they're going to have discussions they're bringing Oman into the situation to talk to the Persians, and that the Iranians and Oman are going to work out, some sort of, they had a subsection on that. We said, what are we doing here? Why are we bringing more guys to this conversation? It's a free waterway with free navigation. The Iranians shouldn't have, if you agree up front in your MOU at the very start in a ceasefire that they're going to have a role in saying something, guess what? The pirates down there on the coast are going to use that as justification for the guys that can't control them for Tehran and say, hey, look, even the Americans are saying we got to have discussions. Then maybe we bring in Oman and let's discuss with them. The pirates on that side. So every step that we're taking has implications for how long we're going to be there. America first and American nationalism says, hey, I look around and I see that we have an open Marxist jihadist revolt in this country that has seized control of the major cities of this country. And people don't want to address that. That's the clear and present danger we have inside the wire right now. And it's metastasizing every day and getting more arrogant every day. How arrogant? Regardless of whether you love Netanyahu or you despise Netanyahu. We can't have mayors of cities saying, oh, I'm going to arrest this international leader. I'm going to arrest this international leader. You get Mandami in his arrogance, and he's saying, hey, look, people in my city, all these foreigners that are here that illegally voted for me, support this. It's a third world position. We support it. Sorry if you don't like it. We now have to focus on exactly what's going to move us forward and continue in victory. You saw the meeting they had the other day about Congress. By the way, the House is gone. They're not coming back to Labor Day or after Labor Day. Think about that for a second. Everything we have on the table, everything we have to do about the Save America Act, everything we have to do about the authorizations and debt and just having adult conversations and maybe debates on these topics, like a debate on Section 219. We're going to have some experts on that. That's where they got out of town. They don't want to be around here. They don't want to answer questions. And trust me, check your calendar. How many of them are going back home and setting up a series of town halls in your community? None. They're in hiding. In a moment of national crisis, they are in hiding. Short commercial break. We're packed this morning on a Saturday in the War Room.
Stay tuned to get a free automatic toilet bowl cleaner from Mermaid. Your sink stopper's broken.
From Real America's Music comes the ultimate patriotic track to power your movement. Get Out the Vote by the Truth Bombers.
Granddad said freedom's like an old fence line, son.
Whether you're rallying the neighborhood, heading to the polls, or standing up for the red, white, and blue, this is the soundtrack for freedom-loving Americans everywhere. Don't wait. Pre-save Get Out the Vote by Truth Bombers right now on all major streaming platforms. Play it loud, share it proud, and let's get out the vote.
Get out and vote. Let your voice be heard. More than a bumper sticker or a spoken word. Take a friend, take your wife, take a neighbor who's been busy all his life. One honest vote, one honest count. That's what this republic's all about. Stand up proud from coast to coast. Freedom needs more than a social post.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
I'm Lou, MAGA pilot from Rav's Gator Chat, here in beautiful Trump County, Florida. The best place for real news is Real America's Voice.
This is Diane from Rhode Island. Why do I love Real America's Voice? Because they deliver us facts from hosts who love America and love God. What's not to like?
Flashosaurus in the chat. I love Real America's Voice because I can watch news being delivered to me live while I chat with a family I love.
Okay. We're going to bring Bensman on in a second, and then we're going to get back around to the war and make this so it all makes sense at the end. But one of the building blocks I want to talk about is domestic policy here, and particularly what ties to international policy, what it means for actually this concept, a wild concept, putting men to work that can have jobs and careers and positions over time that they can support a family. And if their spouse wants to work, fine, go for it. But that you can actually have jobs, careers, etc., that on one salary, is that like quantum mechanics? Are you telling me that's too hard to solve? No, it's not too hard. It's not a natural property of physics or the universe that says that you have to have the mother and father both working all the time, and the kids raised by either this public daycare or whatever the folks can put together for private daycare with their family or whatever. It's not an immutable law of the universe, and that it's jammed down your throat. Just like it's not a natural law of the universe that we would be in the Middle East now for going on when Lieutenant J.G. Bannon was the officer of the deck of the USS Paul S. Foster. I don't know, in late 1979 or 1980. We've been there since 79. All the way till today, down to the current time. We're talking about the exact same thing. The Straits of Hormuz, the North Arabian Sea. Come on, man. Any serious country would move on. Fix the problem and let's move on. And you have to have, if you're a great power, you have to act like a great power. And part of acting like a great power is knowing when it's in your strategic interest or you're just going to hang around forever. And those decisions, I argue, have to be made, and they have to be made now because we can't afford this anymore. Number one, the people that supply it, the people supply the young men and women there, the backbone of this country, this audience, and people like this audience to raise your kids up right, that understand the lessons of the American Revolution and the American experience and want to put their shoulder to the wheel as young as they are in defense of their country, are the ones that I think are having the biggest questions right now. And once they start questioning, it's over. And that's what we got to get to. We're going to get to all of it. I just might add, I had this big meeting with all the great brains and the political operatives, the thing, President Trump, and they came out and they said, they tweeted this out. The thing we're going to push, we're really going to push is the big, beautiful bill aspect of the populist economic policy. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, which are all kind of concepts President Trump came up with. And there weren't enough of it. It should have been more, but it was thwarted by the exact lobbyists and political consultants there. So now what are they running on? Not the big, beautiful bill was the supply side tax cut that started to bring back provided capital or access to capital or advantages to capital that brought jobs back. Oh, no, that would be too much work. Not doing that. They're going to emphasize the populace. Talk about the hypocrisy. E.J. Antoni, you've been such a straight shooter and so correct. As you know, we've lost so many of our colleagues and our co-anchors, whatever, to the administration. In fact, Dave Bratt, who's been silent for about a year, I think will be confirmed next week. He'll be headed to Australia as the ambassador in a long line. EJ was nominated to take over the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but it was the Republican Party that stopped that. Todd Bensman is going to join us in a moment. He's back after a year in the administration. EJ, one of the beating hearts of the problem here, and Victor Davis Hanson was on some show the other day, I don't know, Megyn Kelly or something. They played a clip that I was sitting there railing on the workforce participation and talk about he had to have economies for family. Of course, he's a neoliberal neocon, nice guy, but wrong on everything. Thinks deep thoughts, but was one of the intellectual architects of the fiasco in Iraq and Afghanistan, and is now one of the leading voices with Tel Aviv Levin for, we got to put troops on the ground and let's march to Tehran. So another third strike, you're out, VDH. But he took umbrage. Bannon doesn't understand the Chinese Communist Party. I say, dude, I forgot more about the Chinese Communist Party than you will ever know. He particularly was about the workforce participation. We have a problem. And help me out here. We have millions of men, of able-bodied seamen, as we used to say, that are eligible to work that are not working. And we particularly have a problem with STEM workers, people trained, because we got all these phony, quote unquote, legal immigration plans that adhere to, and all of them, whether it's illegal immigration or whether it's the legal immigration plans, they're all focused on one thing: for the corporations to drive down wages among workers. So help me out. How big a problem is workforce participation? And particularly the fact that you have men in the prime of life. And if our theory of the case here is that we want to build families, and the family is the center of the economic unit of a MAGA economy, and you want to have a particularly that can be a cultural dynamic that both don't have to go out and be quasi, slave labor, right? Or modern economic serfs, but that the mom, if so chooses, can actually stay home and run the household, raise the kids, and maybe even have a couple of more kids. How do we get around this? Because it seems like I believe we're going in the wrong direction, sir.
Steve, a lot of really, really great questions there. I think the most important piece of kind of context here is the fact that the economy really changed drastically during COVID and still hasn't gotten back to normal, I guess you would call it. So with that being said, you had literally millions of people who left the labor force during COVID, understandably, but then they never came back. And you have to ask, okay, why does that include such a large number of men, literally millions of men, well over 5 million, who are now missing from the labor force, again, left during COVID, but then never came back afterwards. And I think a lot of that has to do with what followed COVID, the responses seen during the Biden administration. You can put this into, I think, two broad categories. One was a huge incentive not to work, and the other was a big disincentive for working. What was the disincentive for working? Well, it was the fact that Biden threw open the border, imported all of this low skill, low wage labor, which really cut out the first rung on the ladder of success for a lot of men, and essentially disincentivize them from working. Because look, the labor market is a market. It's right there in the name, okay? If you increase supply, you're going to put downward pressure on prices. Well, what happens when you increase the supply of low-skilled work? You put downward pressure on the wages of that cohort. That's exactly what we have seen over the last several years. So there's your disincentive for working. But what about your incentive to not work? Again, I think you have to lay a lot of blame at the feet of the Biden administration here, because they greatly expanded a lot of different welfare benefits. And not only, Steve, did they increase how much you could get on these different welfare programs, but they also reduced the requirements, not just work requirements, but the different thresholds you had to meet in order to actually be considered disabled, for example. This is why there was a surge by millions in terms of the number of people who are considered disabled when it comes to these labor market statistics, and also, again, the benefits that you can get from different programs. So once more, huge disincentive for working, but then also an incentive to not work. Because why would I go to work when I can sit at home on disability or a host of other different welfare programs and get paid?
Has the Trump administration, because I know President Trump, this drives him crazy, have we gone in and taken out all of those incentives, these kind of phony incentives not to work? Have they all been, or are the requirements tougher? Is the reporting tougher? Have they raised the threshold on all of it so that we tell guys, hey, look, it's on us to stop the illegal immigration and the quote unquote legal to suppress your wages. But the American people are not going to be paying for able-bodied seamen to sit on a sofa and just stream Netflix, sir.
Steve, the short answer is some, not all. And some of the things that we've rolled back have only been done very, very recently, just within the last few weeks or months. Food stamps, I think, is a good example of that, where we are finally putting back into place the work requirements, which are basically just saying, look, if you are an able-bodied man, you either need to be going to school or you need to be looking for work. You need to be volunteering something. You can't just be, as you rightly said, Steve, somebody who's just sitting at home like a lump on the log and is just streaming Netflix or whatever the case may be. Now, look, most of what's going on here, I do firmly believe, is economic. That's just what the data are telling us. But I think it's also the case that there are a lot of cultural issues at play here as well. Feminism, for example, a big reason why men decide to advance in their careers, why they decide to work harder, to earn more money, etc., is the fact that they get married and have children, and now they have a responsibility. There are people dependent on them to actually go out there and work and earn more and be successful. But if you short circuit that whole process, if you stop men from actually getting married and having kids in the first place, which is what has happened to a lot of young men today, then they decide to not go out there and to be achievers. They instead decide to just basically be self-sufficient.
What was the delay in getting these Biden-level incentives? Is that a Department of Labor problem, or is it blocked on the Hill? Because I've noticed the reason they don't want to have appropriation thing is that they get into these fights. The media says you're a bunch of cruel, white, racist, nativist, xenophobic Republicans, and people crater. What happened here?
Steve, it's a mix. The administration, I think, has taken good steps to actually handle the things that are, the different levers, let's say, that are within their reach. We've seen that now with the Department of Agriculture. Brooke Rollins taking on the problem with food stamps. So that was good. You have other issues that it would have to be resolved at labor, some at HHS. So it really, really varies. But to your point, there are plenty of these things that were done by law and would now have to be undone by law. That's on Congress.
Yeah. Hang on for 1 second. We'll hold you through the break. E.J. Antoni's with us.
Hey, folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories.
Just a few months ago, gunfire shattered what was supposed to be a celebration of journalism. Chaos erupted. Lives were changed.
Nobody told me this was such a dangerous profession. If Marco would have told me, maybe I wouldn't have run. Maybe I would have said, I'll take a pass. No, it's a dangerous profession.
But evil does not get the final word. Now we're back. The People's White House Correspondents' Dinner returns, where independent media is embraced.
The Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities.
We refuse to be intimidated. We refuse to back down. And we won't let violence silence a free press or those committed to telling America's story. Join Real America's Voice this Friday, July 24th, for wall-to-wall coverage of this special night as history is made once again. Only on Real America's Voice.
Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Hello, all you Ravagers. I'm Billy Howell, your old buddy Carefree Largo from the chat, and I'm thrilled to be part of the Rav family. When I want to be heard, I use my Real America's Voice.
I'm Patriot Mermaid, and I'm from West Haven, Connecticut. When the mainstream media wasn't giving us the truth, I went and looked for the truth and found it on Real America's Voice. Come and join us. Come on.
My name is TJ Ash from Carbonville, Utah. Real America's Voice lets me express my conservative views without censorship or edit.
What does this mean? The both war going on and the lack of ability of the Republicans to step in and by force, political will, start to cut the spending that got codified during the Biden administration. It means that's why you got a $1.4 trillion deficit in the first 9 months. As we said, this is why you're going to have a $1.8 to $2 trillion deficit by the end of the fiscal year. This is why they're already working on a CR to kick the can down the road to lead to an omnibus that continues on with Biden and Pelosi spending. When I say CR, just remember that's Biden and Pelosi spending levels. What does that mean for you? This is why we did End of the Dollar Empire. Not that we want the end of the dollar empire, We don't want it all, although there ought to be a national debate over should the dollar be the prime reserve currency, because it does have obligations that maybe get you into places you don't want to be, but it's also got big benefits. Find out what they are. Find out what it means for you. Find out what it means for your family, your community, your nation. It's birchgold.com/Bannon, End of the Dollar Empire. 8 free installments. The 9th's on its way. Get it all. Immerse yourself. You get to fill a Patreon team and ask them the questions. They make themselves available for this. So, EJ, before I get on to the H-1Bs, and by the way, Todd Bensman joins us back to a huge day today for Todd coming back after being a year in the administration. Also, if Denver could put up Sam Faddis. Sam has been medevac to, I think, the University of Pennsylvania for this surgery. It hasn't happened yet, but please, there's an update that Grace and Elizabeth have put up in Mo. I want to make sure you have from the family, from Sam's wife and his daughter. And please keep Sam Faddis in your prayers, one of the greats. And it's been so helpful to understanding everything that's going on, particularly in Persia now, having dedicated, I think, 30 years of his life to defense of his country, the great Sam Faddis. EJ, let's just cut to the part of the reason here is that we got a bunch of squish Republicans that are all part of the Uniparty. They're all in the Georgetown cocktail circuit. And I'm talking, this is McConnell. This is why I keep advocating for a throwdown with Thune right now for Senate leadership. Let's have the fight, because it's not Thune. He's just some, guy from blowing in from the prairie, right? We love the prairie, but he's blown into town. He's not exactly the strongest. He's just a cipher. This is McConnellism that is thwarting Trump. Why are they thwarting Trump? They're talking about going on a recess. It's going to be 6 weeks. Is one day of that recess, one day, an actual recess that President Trump can do some recess appointments? Since he's got ambassadors and others that are backed up for 6 months, they're telling guys, hey, we don't get to you next week. It'll be after the election. This is the Republican, the gutless, feckless, controlled opposition Republicans that go along with Biden. Remember, they're cheering Biden and loving up on Biden because he'd been with him for all the time, rubbing up on Biden, not questioning how he was illegitimate and destroying the country. The reason we started the End of the Dollar Empire was early in 2021 because we saw the spending bill when you didn't need it. Remember, aggregate demand. Let's go back to the war room at the war room pandemic. Aggregate demand drops, collapses. Yes, you do need to bridge that with extraordinary measures. President Trump took those extraordinary measures, and guess what? We had gotten, the bridge had been built, and we had gotten to the other side by 2021, but no. They had to have a massive spending bill that we said, hey, was going to be a Keynesian infusion. It was going to drive inflation, and you had, Klugman and all these guys mocking, oh, my God, they don't know anything, Navarre, Bannon, a bunch of clowns. Turns out they were wrong, but we still got the problem. Why are we not? Because I understand Biden, these guys think did it during reconciliation. When I look at the punch list for our reconciliations, brother, I don't see cuts in there. I see more spending over and above the CR that's got the Biden number in it. This is why we're looking at a $350 billion reconciliation. But, bro, I do not see in that the cuts that you say have to be decodified, sir.
Steve, you're absolutely right. I mean, this latest reconciliation package that was put forward, just missed opportunity from beginning to end. Where are the spending cuts? Where is the tax relief? Where is the rollback of the Biden and Pelosi era nonsense that you were just talking about? Both the nonsense in terms of just the size of the spending, which has gotten way out of control, but also the rollback of their agenda. What about rolling back all the woke DEI nonsense, the Green New Deal nonsense, right? We still have some of that on the books. We still have not decodified that, if you will, or in other words, removed it from statute. All of that good, hard work still needs to be done. And it just really, again, missed opportunity is the phrase that comes to mind there. Because as we were just saying before the break, Steve, it is going to take Congress to undo a lot of this damage. Congress was part of the problem in the first place, and now it can't just simply be done with executive order. It's going to require Congress to get that stuff off the books, just like it required them to put it on there in the first place. But the problem is, you have the Democrats, which just always vote as a block for whatever reason. I'm not a political scientist. I'm a monetary scientist. I'll leave it to my betters to figure that one out. Republicans just never can vote as a block for some reason. But on top of that, you also have these squish Republicans like the McConnells, like the Murkowskis, who are always willing to cross the aisle and to vote on some of these big ticket items from the Democrats. The infrastructure bill comes to mind, right? Which was just a lot of waste. Maybe not all of it was bad, but a lot of it was just waste. And you can never find 10 Democrats to come across the aisle and to do the same thing when it comes to the Republican agenda items. That's a big, big problem in D.C.
Before I let you go, now there's all types of reports overnight that my whole theory is that we have a highly leveraged bet, kind of double leverage, both corporately and as a nation, on artificial intelligence providing immediate and mass productivity increases without concomitant layoffs. I think that the return on it, we've had people on here talking about this nonstop, about how the return on equity, the return on investment's not there. They're finally waking up to it. It may be even too late, given what they've committed to. But this gets to the fact that American labor is not participating in this. Artificial intelligence is driving jobs out. But more importantly, I think we have 12 million STEM workers that are not fully occupied. And the reason is we continue to have these H-1B visas and flood the zone with foreign labor that has no right to be here. They're not better educated, and they don't have better training or better qualifications for the billets in whatever billet it is. You can't show us one person, not one, that is in a billet that has better education or better on-job expertise than an American worker, sir. When is this going to get stopped?
Steve, unfortunately, I'm just not seeing any indication that work is being done here to reform the H-1B program. And we keep seeing stories time and time again where it's not just a matter of someone is being brought in because a company literally can't find an American with this precise skill set, but you keep finding these examples of businesses bringing in an H-1B worker to be a secretary in an office. I mean, something where there is zero argument whatsoever that can be made to say that this is a role that could only be filled by this foreigner, that there are no Americans with the skill set, again, to do something like to be a secretary or a clerical worker, whatever the case may be. So it's not just a matter of a problem in STEM fields, although you're absolutely right. You're seeing a lot of computer science graduates, for example, people with what used to be considered a very, very strong bachelor's degree, obviously, in the STEM field where they can't get jobs. But it's affecting a lot of other workers in other sectors, too. So obviously, the program is in desperate need of reform. I just don't see people taking a look at it right now.
EJ, where do people go to keep up with your Twitter feed? Is a constant. It's kind of like the sophisticated Bloomberg for the MAGA movement on finance and economics. Where do people go?
The best place to find me is there on X. The handle is @RealEJAntoni.
EJ, thanks for taking time on a Saturday. I know you had to change things around, so thank you for sharing this with the Warroom Posse. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
Bensman. Man, oh man, welcome. You're a sight for sore eyes. Your lovely visage. Thank you for joining us. I guess your first week back. You're over at Heritage right now?
That's right. I'm with Heritage now, doing the same thing: border security, immigration, national security.
Talk because you wrote and you were on for years on the show and were really the tip of the spear. You were the equivalent of what Russ Vought was for the management of the country, and Besson for capital markets. You were that voice. Walk people through what in the year you've been gone 14 months. What were the types of things, billets you had, types of things you worked on for the administration?
That's right. I was a senior advisor assigned to the ICE Office of Director. And I worked often with Tom Homan and DHS leadership on the mass deportation project and on lots of kinds of policy issues that would result in permanently welding shut the border, permanently ending some of the loopholes that enabled that and caused us the kind of problem that we're trying to dig ourselves out of now.
Todd, the reason, if we can grab, if Cameron and the team, Brandon can grab the cover of his book, the reason that your voice was so powerful is that you had a very sophisticated way, in fact, the cover of your book. And remember, the intellectual property that you put out, that came out through War Room, that came out through the CIS, your site, that was picked up by like Epoch Times, it fired the base up that finally there was somebody there explaining the details of what was happening with this really invasion and well thought through invasion. You would always tell me, don't say it's chaos on the border. Don't say, this is that's that famous shot right there. You did more to explain that, but you also, your previous book, when we first started having you on the show years ago, was about jihadis and terrorists coming across. So you covered both aspects. One, how the system was totally gamed and very well thought through, and working with NG, that you do not get 20 million illegal alien invaders into a country unless it's highly organized. And the judges know about it, and the left-wing legal profession, but also you understood from the previous book that, hey, this thing has been open for a long time and some very bad hombres are coming into the country. Give me a minute or two on that before you go to break.
That's right. That was the Biden administration years was the hugest, greatest, worst mass migration crisis, I think, in world history. I'm unaware, even during the world wars, of any kind of numbers like that. And it was all by policy. It was organized. It was planned out very well by the migrant resettlement and aid industrial complex, that I call it. Hundreds of millions of dollars flowed into that industrial complex, into those nonprofit businesses, in order to keep those people flowing over the border, all of them being let in, all along the migrant trail from all over the world, 150 plus countries coming through, and they're still here. Donald Trump is trying to fix that, trying to dig us out of that. It's not easy, but that's the situation that we're still in. And so it still matters how that happened, why that happened, who profited, so that accountability can finally be brought, and also so that we can put policies in place to prevent it from happening. If you don't know why it happened, you can't fix it.
Okay, hang on for a second. I'm going to hold you through the break. When people ask me about Bensman, Todd is what we call a safe pair of hands. He's like a Scott Besson type or a Russ Vought type, right? Or Dave Walsh, who's also working over at the Department of War now. These are safe pair of hands. These are not people that hair is on fire. So when he tells you the biggest in world history, sit up and grab a number 2 pencil. Bensman next in the War Room.
With the 2026 midterms coming at us like a freight train, gun grabbers are
Just a few months ago, gunfire shattered what was supposed to be a celebration of journalism. Chaos erupted. Lives were changed.
Nobody told me this was such a dangerous profession. If Marco would have told me, maybe I wouldn't have run. Maybe I would have said, I'll take a pass. No, it's a dangerous profession.
But evil does not get the final word. Now we're back. The People's White House Correspondents' Dinner returns, where independent media is embraced.
The Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities.
We refuse to be intimidated. We refuse to back down. And we won't let violence silence a free press or those committed to telling America's story. Join Real America's Voice this Friday, July 24th, for wall-to-wall coverage of this special night as history is made once again. Only on Real America's Voice.
Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of the Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Hello, all you Ravagers. I'm Billy Howell, your old buddy Carefree Largo from the chat, and I'm thrilled to be part of the Rav family. When I want to be heard, I use my Real America's Voice.
I'm Patriot Mermaid, and I'm from West Haven, Connecticut. When the mainstream media wasn't giving us the truth, I went and looked for the truth and found it on Real America's Voice. Come and join us. Come on.
My name is TJ Ash from Carbonville, Utah. Real America's Voice lets me express my conservative views without censorship or edit.
Remember, birchgold.com, End of the Dollar Empire. Get it, immerse yourself in it. The ninth free edition's coming out. Birchgold.com/Bannon, End of the Dollar Empire. You get immediate access to Philip Patrick and his team to ask him all the questions you have about putting part of your retirement or part of your savings or part of your investment capital into physical gold. Talk to those guys today. You'll find out what's been a hedge for mankind, I don't know, a couple of thousand years. Good enough for you? Good enough track record? Because remember, like everything in the war room, we want to immerse you in information and make you, when you use your agency, it's to the max power. So, Bensman, I think your quote was, this was the biggest organized kind of invasion of migrants and foreigners and illegal aliens, a whole raft of them. All the way from good, solid people. There were a lot of good, solid people who came across there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There are good, solid people that came here for a better life. That's not the way you do things. You get in line like everybody else did. All the way to some of the worst hombres in history. However, this was organized by people that want to destroy this country and this republic. You said it was the biggest in world history. You're not someone that overstates your case, sir. Make the case for that, please.
Well, the numbers alone, we were seeing 250 to 300,000. I mean, imagine a Super Bowl stadium packed to the gills, 70,000. 3 of those every single month, at least, were coming in over the border and being let in to stay for years. We just have never seen anything like, even in Europe, the numbers aren't anywhere like that. And they complain all the time about this, the crisis over there. It's like a fraction of what we saw coming over the U.S. border. We think somewhere in the order of at least 8 million just came over in that period. I think it's a lot more because of the gotaways. But in any case, let's just take the most conservative number. It's an unbelievable number of people that came in over the border and, created a lot of very visible social problems, budget problems, fiscal problems, employment, labor market problems.
To get 8 to 22 million people in. I'm a 13 million person, but hey, I'll take the high, I'll take the over, I'll take the under. It's a monumental problem. You don't do that unless you're highly organized, correct?
It was very well organized by policy for sure, and by the United Nations, and its partnership with a big consortium of non-governmental organizations that all profited from this through the UN.
And those not-for-profits were funded by dark money. Most of them were funded by dark money. So the enemies of this country, both foreign and domestic, because we have domestic enemies, and that's the point we're going to have to get to, is identify who the domestic enemies are of this republic and take care of business. Now that we've, so Now we're in a situation, we have the John C. Calhouns of the 21st century, because most of these illegal invaders have gone to the major cities because they're sanctuary cities. New York's a sanctuary state. New York City's a sanctuary city. Illinois, Chicago, Los Angeles. And we have these mayors that have essentially told the president of these United States and the commander-in-chief that, hey, ICE, the internal enforcement apparatus, not the border, not the Coast Guard, not the great job the military is doing, not the great job the Customs and Border are doing. Magnificent. President Trump essentially sealed it when they said it couldn't be done. Oh, we have to just take $250,000 a month because that's just a natural law, a natural property of the universe. No, Trump shut it down in 60 to 90 days. But the internal enforcement, that stops the immediate problem. But to take care of the festering sore that is the problem, we now have Mandami at the lead telling you, and by the way, in Minneapolis, in Los Angeles, screw you. No, you're not going to enforce any federal law about immigration. And Mandami calls these people Americans. I'm protecting Americans. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, of course, all of that is absurd. It's ideological, or it's propagandistic. I think it's more propagandistic than anything else. They're open borders. It is the signature policy of the far left to just simply accept that, there are no borders. Everybody has a right to go anywhere in the world that they want at any time, especially into the United States. I don't think that that this is something that the American people writ large are interested in. However, there is an organized nationwide campaign to undermine U.S. support, the people's support for these deportations. And where you can really see that are these very organized ruckus groups that are attacking in an organized way, physically attacking ICE agents and interfering with ICE operations in all these big cities. Black Bloc, you can see them. They're not just protesters or demonstrators. And that produces a propaganda effect that I think has undermined some U.S. support for these operations. But I do think that there's still good support for these.
Oh, this is amazing. So, I mean, mass deportations, there's still amazing support of it. They all have to go. All of them. It's totally unacceptable. Any inkling of amnesty. There's not going to be any amnesty. I don't care how you put lipstick on that pig. We can always get back and show you it's amnesty. Amnesty is unacceptable to the American people. Mass deportations are acceptable to the American people. Is it tough? Yes, it's tough. Why is that? Because you have many people in this country that are Marxist jihadists that hate this republic and are going to try to use the media and try to use scare tactics and try to use violence, like in Minneapolis and other places, to try to shut down Los Angeles, to try to shut down the internal enforcement of our immigration laws. You can't wish this away. You can't whistle past the graveyard, because this is the graveyard of this republic. The problems in this country, the crisis in this country of us as a nation and our sovereignty has nothing to do with what's going on in Tehran. And all the time and the opportunity cost and the money and the blood and the treasure and the focus is wasted. The problem, the beating heart of the problem, is in the United States of America in its largest and greatest cities. Todd Bensman, Tej Gill, and others after a short break.
You know what nobody tells you about the assets in your IRA or 401k? For almost all Americans.
Just a few months ago, gunfire shattered what was supposed to be a celebration of journalism. Chaos erupted. Lives were changed.
Nobody told me this was such a dangerous profession. If Marco would have told me, maybe I wouldn't have run. Maybe I would have said, I'll take a pass. No, it's a dangerous profession.
But evil does not get the final word. Now we're back. The People's White House Correspondents' Dinner returns, where independent media is embraced.
The Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities.
We refuse to be intimidated. We refuse to back down. And we won't let violence silence a free press or those committed to telling America's story. Join Real America's Voice this Friday, July 24th, for wall-to-wall coverage of this special night as history is made once again. Only on Real America's Voice.
Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of the Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Saturday, 25 July, year of our Lord, 2026. Okay, we're going to go in a minute, when we finish with Todd, to war and the rumors of war next, of what is taking our attention away from the problem that we have to address. A problem, folks, as complicated as the situation, you saw this from the cold open, as complicated as the situation is in the Middle East. And why is it complicated? I don't know. We're talking Persia and Israel and Turkey and Egypt and Saudi Arabia, you know, the Bedouins, they've been doing this. They've been at each other's throat for, I don't know, a couple of thousand years. Read the histories of the campaigns of Alexander the Great. Read the March Up Country by Xenophon. Read the March Home, however you want to refer to it. Read the Bible. Read it all. Go back to the ancient sources. You read it. You know what you think you're reading? You think you're reading the headlines. You think you're on Drudge or on Citizens Free Press. I'm just clicking through. It ain't changed, and it's not going to change. Okay, but we have a country in this 250th year, founded by some of the greatest men and women in the history of mankind, and it's created the freest country, the country that freed more people, created more wealth, did more for the huddled masses. I don't know about your family, but we were essentially kicked out of Ireland, right? Or kicked out or left because there was nothing, you're just eating dirt. There weren't a lot of fond memories for the old country or for the Brits, okay? And if you look at, the huddled masses, they got a shot here. They got a break. They got a break to do their own thing. How about that? Without somebody, some king or aristocracy or someone telling them here what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. And enemies of that idea and the Christian faith that underpins it have been targeting this country for hundreds of years. And now we have a problem, and we got to talk about that problem, and we have to get a solution to the problem because it's not going to go away. It's metastasize. In fact, as you think Mike Johnson is going to solve this, or Steve Scalise, are they going to solve this problem? You think John Thune's going to solve this problem? Mitch McConnell, you think they're going to solve it? You think they're going to solve it? They all just ran home. When you see your congressman get up in his grill and say, yo, dude, What the hell are you doing back here? I hired you to be there to solve the problem, like the invasion of this country. What are you doing? And don't let them give you some gobbledygook. Todd Bensman, you've got an amazing idea. It's up on Fox Digital. Talk to me about this commission, Truth Commission. What do you want to do? You want to get to the bottom of how it happened, how many are here, where are they, and who should be held accountable for this, correct?
That's correct, Steve. There are terabytes of unexcavated emails at the Department of State, CBP, all the DHS agencies, memorandum, discussion notes, the material of policy making that are just sitting there. Nobody has yet moved to grab them and study them to find out who to hold to account for what they did during those 4 years, so that it can never happen again, so that we know what to put in place, what sort of internal accountability rules and barriers and walls to put in place to prevent that from happening again. So I'm proposing a presidential truth commission be appointed to start excavating that while we still have a couple of years to do it and produce a report. And yes, a report, that's good for policy making, but people who would serve on this Truth Commission could also make criminal referrals. Remember, I told you that there were hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts, no bid contracts that were just let to, mom and pop, who knows who they were, to resettle the illegal aliens into the country, and that went to NGOs abroad. And here there were United Nations relationships with people in the State Department. There was no daylight between them. It was like operationally incestuous what was going on there. But like who, what, when, how did all that happen? It's just sitting there. And I really hope that the window doesn't close on that with the end of the Trump administration before we get a chance to harvest all of it and study it and hold people to account and make policy to fix it so that never happens again.
So as soon as you mention commission, federal government, and report, people got to go and hit the snooze button, right? Hang on for a second. But that's the current structure you're recommending. And the reason you're recommending it is you're saying, and it doesn't have to be that, it could actually be something the government does itself right now. Your point is, this just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. This is where we get back to the stolen election of 2020. You had the guy on Ezra Klein's show, you said yesterday, they're inextricably linked. The voting irregularities and the voting fraud with the invasion of the country, and that, you've got these guys, these nativists and these xenophobes like War Room and Bannon, and all they do is hammer on that and this. You're damn right, because they are inextricably linked. And finally, I'd like to take that transcript and get it over to Fox and have them read it. But Todd, the reason you're using this construct and this structure is that at least that would initiate something. You're saying there's a massive amount of information internally to the government today from government agencies that worked in conjunction with NGOs, et cetera, in a very organized manner. This just didn't. Hundreds of thousands of people, that amazing photograph that's the cover of your book, and I might say, as great as that book is, I think it's the one time that a photo cover art sold a book, right? Because it summarized exactly what was in the book so brilliantly. So you say, I got to buy that book and read it. Is that just didn't happen. What happened at the International Bridge there just didn't happen. Those people just didn't randomly show up. This is well thought through, and it took a massive government effort in addition to these quasi-government NGOs to organize and do it. And you're saying, don't take it from Todd Bensman, and don't take it from Steve Bannon, and don't take it from the War Room, and don't take it from Heritage. Take it from the data itself, correct?
Go get it. It's just sitting there. Go get it. I'm not going to say that I didn't propose this when I was in the administration. But I'm out here, and it wouldn't bother me a bit if that got some traction from the outside. And
we're going to be on it, very much so. Last thing, just the numbers. And look, you got a lot of people. You got Home and these guys. They're working on this thing. I'm not so sure about the new DHS guy. It just these numbers. We have to. The president's done a magnificent job on sealing the border to the degree you can seal it. You've got the military down there on the southern border. We have Customs and Border has been empowered, and it now feels like somebody's got their back. You got the Coast Guard. You've got everybody kind of working in conjunction, doing a great job. But the beating heart of the problem today, the battlefield has shifted to internal enforcement. And in the biggest cities you have, these magnificent cities, the greatest cities in the history of mankind, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Minneapolis, others, you have a Marxist jihadist groups running them. They're saying absolutely you cannot enforce federal immigration policy. They are worse than John C. Calhoun before the Civil War. What is to be done then, and how are we to judge the math and the numbers of how we're doing?
The public numbers, the public record is showing that ICE has arrested and deported about 605,000 since the beginning. Those are not the kind of numbers that anybody really envisioned. We're envisioning a lot higher than that. It's about 1,200 a day. There was a period there where we wanted 3,000 a day, which would be about 1 million a year. And it's just not happening. Also, I'm not sure that I trust those numbers that well. I would want much greater transparency. Break down those numbers. Are those the border numbers? I think there's another 400,000 that were turned away at the border, 440,000 turned away at the border. We're not sure. And then we don't really know how many self-deported. There's a lot that is not known about what happened. And I would call on much greater transparency, much higher numbers. I think that when ICE first started, they forgot to tie their shoelaces, tripped over them a few times out of the gate. We all know about that. But I also want to point out that the expectation of how many, remember, I was on the border on your show live all the time while the thousands were all around me. They were coming in 10,000 a day, 8,000 a day, sometimes 14,000 a day, and turning themselves in all at once to Border Patrol. Nobody's turning themselves in for deportation on the interior at all. We have to track them down one by one so that you can't really expect a deportation effort to match the number that were coming in monthly. It's just not, they were turning themselves in. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. And they're running on the interior, but there is a lot more that can be done to organize and target not just criminal aliens. I watched Mark Morgan on your show the other day. I agree with him. It's the worst first, but that means there's a second, third, fourth, and fifth category too. And we got to go get everybody here. And I think I'm optimistic about it. We've got 22,000 officers hired now. We've got detention space, like 75,000 beds now. So we've got the space that we never had before. The Biden administration did a Sherman's March to the Sea before they left and just left everything a smoking ruin in deportation. It all had to be rebuilt with big, beautiful bill money, which didn't even come until July 1 year ago. So I'm optimistic that everything is starting to really line up and be in place. Fingers crossed. But I think the numbers are going to be above 2,000 a day pretty soon, and then in place to get to that magic 3,000 number. So fingers crossed on that. What? And I think we've got the strategy in place now too. I would like to see more work site enforcement. That needs to happen.
When this gets down to it, and we got about a minute, and I know you got to bounce. President Trump's Herculean sealed the border, then got the money, the manpower, the training, all of it to have in place the pieces you need to do this. This is now, let's get down to the hub of it, or the nub of it. This is a test of political wills. The people opposed to us not only don't want anybody removed, they want to give them full rights of American citizenship and have them vote. And right now they're trying to get them to vote either illegitimately or any way possible. And they want more here. As you see it right now, who's going to win this test of political wills? Todd Bensman.
I think Tom Homan is going to win that, and the president are going to win that. I'm optimistic. I was on the inside there. I am familiar with what's going on, and I think that the change in tactics is really ultimately designed to thwart the organized propaganda machine that involves attacking ICE officers while they're doing their jobs and drawing a response from them that can then gets videotaped and put out there. So I think everything's in place. So let's just hope that they stay the course, add worksite enforcement on there. Can I just say a quick thing about the voting?
Yeah. I tell you what, hang on for 1 second. I'll hold you through the break. I want you to talk about the voting and give your coordinates. Harrison Berger is going to join us about this NDAA and Section 219. Let's get down to it, figure out what happened here before people ran out of town. The great Tage Gill is also going to be here. New York Post has got an exclusive report on a very sophisticated, complicated, and large military operation to take care of the nuclear, I guess, material problem. Tage is going to break it down as a special forces hero. Short commercial break. You're in the War Room on a Saturday morning. Get a pot of Warpath coffee on. Let's get jacked up.
Tired of the radical left destroying our country? Looking for a real conservative alternative?
Just a few months ago, gunfire shattered what was supposed to be a celebration of journalism. Chaos erupted. Lives were changed.
Nobody told me this was such a dangerous profession. If Marco would have told me, maybe I wouldn't have run. Maybe I would have said, I'll take a pass. No, it's a dangerous profession.
But evil does not get the final word. Now we're back. The People's White House Correspondents' Dinner returns, where independent media is embraced.
The Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities.
We refuse to be intimidated. We refuse to back down. And we won't let violence silence a free press or those committed to telling America's story. Join Real America's Voice this Friday, July 24th, for wall-to-wall coverage of this special night as history is made once again. Only on Real America's Voice.
Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of the Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Hello, all you Ravagers. I'm Billy Howell, your old buddy Carefree Largo from the chat, and I'm thrilled to be part of the Rav family. When I want to be heard, I use my Real America's Voice.
I'm Patriot Mermaid, and I'm from West Haven, Connecticut. When the mainstream media wasn't giving us the truth, I went and looked for the truth and found it on Real America's Voice. Come and join us. Come on.
My name is TJ Ash from Carbonville, Utah. Real America's Voice lets me express my conservative views without censorship or edit.
The Phoenix engine room reminds me of the Cloud Pivot strategy and what's going on here. But most importantly, as we talk about the American Revolution, the book Revolution that so many of you have bought and put it up high on the New York Times bestseller list for week after week after week. And as I say, this kind of went through three phases. You had American Revolution, then you had the War of Independence, which I argue is this part we're in now. Then you had the building of the nation, the coming together around the Constitution, what was not working in the Continental Congress, and then all the way up to the War of 1812. The British tried to come back and take it over again, and finally General Jackson and a motley crew of dog's breakfast of patriots down in New Orleans crushed Wellington's one of Wellington's armies in the Battle of New Orleans early in 1815 that really ended it. Is I think ended it. Tom Paine, who wrote Common Sense, which was really something that got people fired up. He was, and people come in and out of the story, like people come in and out of the story today. He was there for the American Revolution part and really got people fired up. I just want to give a quote. This is from Tom Paine. And by the way, they sent Tom Paine. He was so over the top, I guess you could say. They said, "Hey Tom, I think you got a better options in revolutionary France." So when he went over there, his quote: "We shall have no real hope to survive the enemies arranged against us until we hang the traitors lurking among us." That's a quote from Tom Paine, one of the great founders of this country, laying it right out there. Harrison Berger. I find it, there's something I can't put my finger on, and so I've talked to Kurt Mills. You work with Kurt over American Conservative. And you followed this, you tracked this very closely, and you came on the other day to do a good first cut. There's something not right with what's going on. I can't put my finger on it. I can't understand why the House voted on an NDAA and then got the hell out of town. And at first, I said, well, no, they're just taking a long weekend. And they go, no, you're wrong. I go, well, they're just taking like a couple of days. They're going to be back because it's only the third week of July. Or it's only, middle of July, late July. And they go, no. They're not coming back. They say they're not going to come back till Labor Day, but they're going to take it longer than that. There'll probably be September 14th. That's when the Senate's coming back. And I go, with everything we got going on and the backs against the wall of holding serve in the House would take 6 weeks off right now to kind of go hide and really come back. I think would have nothing more than 2 or 3 weeks in the legislative schedule until they go campaign, supposedly in October. And they go, yeah. So Harrison, this 219, and here's my problem with this. I've got a lot of problems with it. The fundamental problem I have with it is we have not had a robust debate. It's still very hard to kind of figure out what it is. But I know when people don't want to debate it and want to stuff it in something, this is exactly what happened on the situation with Big Tech trying to put in the wording they wanted in the last NDAA. They wanted to put it in there about preemption, that they would have no controls, nothing on them. And you've seen what's happened over the last couple of days, and I'll have more about that, about this breakout and containment that we warned about. So the same thing they did there is they've done, and they don't want any debate on it because they understand if you actually start debating it in the common sense of the American people, they're going to go, well, hang on for a second. Why are we doing this? So explain to me the process of 219. What is it? How did it get in there? And how did it get in there without any robust debate so that people still today don't quite know everything about it, sir?
Well, this bill is just absolutely shocking, as you've covered extensively on your show. And I'd really encourage every American to just go online right now, look up the text of Section 219 in the NDA and read it, because there's just so many lies that are being deployed right now, mainly by the Israel lobby and, the defense contractor-funded politicians, voting for it about this bill. What Section 219 is going to do is that it's going to designate this executive agent with this extremely broad mandate for expanding and accelerating the U.S.-Israel security relationship across 9 different domains. And if you look at those 9 domains, they're not programs like Iron Dome. They're 9 basket categories, which have an unlimited number of programs contained in them. So AI, quantum technology, bioweapons. These are all listed in the bill. Virtually every category of weapons imaginable, including those that don't really exist yet.
In the 9 you have are all the most important technologies. From that are going to come the most important weapon systems and technologies to cover it all. This covers of anything meaning. There's nothing that's not meaningful in these categories, and the categories are written so broadly. It's the equivalent of the Made in China 2025, when China listed the 10 industries they were going to dominate by 2025. As we said, the top 5, regenerative robotics, artificial general intelligence, quantum computing, advanced chip design, biotech. I said, gosh, the top 5 sectors they're talking about get you to the singularity. That gets you to the Homo sapien, 2.0. The Chinese, the same exact mentality is in this, where they've laid out every crucial, massive segment, not weapons program. We do have relationships with South Korea, with NATO, with the United Kingdom, with people that we have fought wars with victoriously, right, and pass on a programmatic basis, or maybe even a little broader than programmatic, but fairly narrowly defined, so that they're bringing their expertise to something that we can both work together, but they're narrowly defined. There's not some big blanket that we're going to basically take the future of national security, the future of weapon systems, the future of the defense of this republic, and we're going to partner with somebody. And that partner is going to have just as much say-so over it as we are, sir.
That's exactly right. And as far as I know, there's only one other executive agent model at the Pentagon right now. But like you're saying, it has nothing at all to do with Section 219. It's with AUKUS, this submarine pact that we have with Australia and the United Kingdom. And you're right, that executive agent, he worked backward from this kind of narrow and fixed objective. It involves delivering these nuclear-powered submarines to Australia. It's on a set timeline, and it's in service of our strategic interest of containing China. It's our goal. And what's interesting is when AUKUS was enacted, you had a lot of critics in Australia who were complaining that it would make Australia a vassal to the United States. What Section 219 is going to do to the U.S.-Israeli security relationship is it's going to make us a vassal to Israel, just like Australia is a vassal to the United States under AUKUS. And like you're saying, Section 219 is much broader than this one submarine program that's defined in our AUKUS relationship. It's all 9 categories of AI, quantum computing, and a 10th, which I should mention, which is this kind of broad, open-ended category, which says anything we haven't even mentioned here. So it's open-ended and could, include all sorts of partnerships that aren't even included in the bill.
Talk about the executive part of this. The executive part of this. What is that? Because it's kind of it's got an agent ability to it that I've never seen before. You mentioned that. Describe to the audience what it is, and what it means.
So basically, they're appointing a specific office, and they're going to set up a permanent office within the Pentagon to seek out and find all sorts of technologies that we can integrate together, and to avoid duplication. That's the instruction. So it's the exact logic of a merger. Now, if you listen to the Israel lobby right now, they're going to deny that this is a merger at all, that that's the goal. But if you just listen to Benjamin Netanyahu, he wrote in a letter, I think to Congress about a month ago, that this is his plan for merging the U.S.-Israel security relationship, or the tech and defense industrial bases. And the goal is to sidestep this waning support for Israel in the United States, a consequence of the live stream genocide that Israel just perpetrated with U.S. Tax dollar support that Americans don't want to contribute to anymore. And so they see that Americans don't want this U.S. security relationship, that they want to change it, and they want to prevent Americans from having democratic control over it. So they're going to hide it, they're going to conceal it, and they're going to cement it in the Pentagon with this executive agent.
This is the problem. It hurts Israel. And look, there's a lot of debate, and I don't agree it's actually a genocide. I think it's over the top, and there's a lot of debate whether it's a genocide or not. But let's say this. People now are saying, hey, why are we tied up with this thing and tied up going forward? I make the case that they're not, if they're not a vassal state and not a protector, because if they are a vassal state or a protector, they got to play by our rules. And our rules are, we don't want an imperial Israel. We're not interested in Lebanon. We're not interested in Syria. We're not interested in going in and controlling Tehran. But it's in Israel's best interest for their sovereignty to stand on their own. And this is not a way to do it. This is only going to bring up more controversy, et cetera, because folks got to understand, you're not just going to slap this in there and it's going to go away. That is not going to happen. Okay. One, I think this can be stopped now. To have our sovereignty, you can't have this. We're a sovereign nation. Yes. Can we have people like South Korea, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, the Italians who on certain weapon systems are fantastic. And in Israel, they do have some technology is fantastic. And on a weapon system basis, you make it. This is not that. This is a merger of the advance of what's coming now and in the future of the defense industrial basis. And it's just not going to fly. We're going to fight this tooth and nail to get it out here. And this is one of the reasons they ran out of town. And this is why they don't want to talk about it. And they're going to give you happy talk if you discuss this. But for Israel's own independence, and when they're independent, if they want to take a tank column and go to Beirut, God bless you. If you want to take a tank column and go to Damascus, God bless you. If you want to take a tank column and go to Tehran, God bless you. We're not in. Okay, we don't want to be in. We want to be out of the whole region. Harrison, where do they go at American Conservative to get more of the information you and Kurt Mills are putting up all the time?
Yeah, we wrote a great piece, or we wrote a couple. We had something with Tucker Carlson, an interview recently where he's gone, really in depth onto this and on his programs as well, talking about the dangers of Section 219. He interviewed Dennis Kucinich on it. We interviewed him about it. And so, yeah, I'd say to read The American Conservative. Perfect. The other thing I just want to mention, if we have time, is that this is really moving in the opposite direction. I mean, as you said, we already...
Hang on 1 second. I'm just going to hold you through the break. By the way, Todd Benson had to bounce. I'm going to get all his coordinates. Harrison's going to stick with us. Tage is on deck here in the War Room on a Saturday morning. Next.
With the 2026 midterms coming at us like a freight train, gun grabbers are licking.
Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of real America's voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because they have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
Howdy, RAV fans. This is Warbringer here. Love you all. RAV is the only place to get the truth, and this is the only way we're going to be able to restore our republic. Love you all. See you in the chat.
This is Diane from Rhode Island. Why do I love Real America's Voice? Because they deliver us facts from hosts who love America and love God. What's not to like?
By the way, Todd Bensman had to bounce. I want to thank Todd for giving us so much time on his first Saturday back. He's over at Heritage now and going to be doing great work over there. And Dr. Roberts, the team, want to thank him. ToddBensman.com is where you can go get all his information. He's got a great piece up on Fox Digital, and Fox Digital has some great pieces up on it. ToddBensman.com, all one word, or at Bensman Todd. Kind of reverse that on X. And Todd's always putting up great information. He's now back 14 months in service at the government, and now back over at Heritage. He'll be on the show, hopefully a lot, to tell us, like he told us in those years in the wilderness, what was going on. And I agree with his commission. I would actually hope that the government would just step in and just let's get it done without doing a commission. But if you got to do that, let's do it. Harrison, this thing is so over the top with the agent and all that. Where do people go to get more information? Because this is a long way from being over. People think you can just stuff this thing in there and that's going to be sorted out. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I think this is one of the things that for defenders of Israel, I consider myself one, you're putting people in harder and harder positions because this is all part of the Israel First Imperial Israel program. And it just hurt people. And it's not going to stop. Getting this out is not going to stop, and it's going to be a major effort, and it's going to happen. This is never going to be allowed to merge the industrial bases of the United States. We have our own sovereignty and our own deal, and yes, we can choose allies, for projects or for even for campaigns, and we should be able to have the freedom to do that, not be locked in. Harrison, where do people get more information? I know you guys are doing a great job of going through all this.
Yeah, so I definitely encourage everyone to check out the American Conservative. We've been covering it a bunch. Tucker Carlson's been covering it. The Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft also has excellent coverage of Section 219. And as you said, it's not going away. The goal is to make this permanent, to cement the really one-sided U.S.-Israel security relationship. So it's important, I think, for people to know what's going on.
Thank you very much. We're going to spend a lot more time on this. This is one of the reasons they skedaddle out of town. Think about this. They're gone until after Labor Day, the House. Yeah. And the Senate, this is why we should have a throwdown on the Senate right now on this issue and many others. Harrison, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Todd Bensman, Harrison Berger of American Conservative, Todd Bensman at Heritage. Want to thank them. EJ. Tage Gill, a bunch of stuff to go through. Number one, overall, the Hill newspaper has a huge article today from inside sources on the massive bombing campaign. They do highlight in the piece that when they talk to senior Trump administration officials and the intelligence services, they still get down to, regardless of the bombing campaign, that this in their minds is going to come down to control of Hormuz. Before I talk about the New York Post exclusive on this massive operation, military operation to get the nuclear material, just your overall thoughts. Where do you think we are? You spent decades in that region. Where do you think we are in this, and how do you read the tea leaves of what's being leaked out about what they're thinking about as one option is to now go down and double or triple down?
Yeah, I think we're in the beginning stages of a forever war if we continue on the path that we're on. Panetta says we need to take control of the Strait to have leverage with Iran. Taking control of the Strait is easier said than done. We've been trying to take control of the Strait for months. Remember, we have Operation Freedom and this whole thing. It's not an easy thing to do, though. Remember, the whole entire coastline of Iran on the Persian Gulf has caves and all kinds of underground stuff that have boats, unmanned boats, missiles, and drones. That's the kicker. How do you stop all the boats, drones, and missiles to protect our ships once we go in and take control of the Strait? So that's a big task for Trump to do. So it can be done, but it's going to be costly and it's going to take a long time. I think the better option is get back to the negotiating table.
Well, his theory of the case is you can't get back to the negotiating table anything meaningful, is the president quoted, until they feel more pain. Look, the Persian Gulf, I think I was right yesterday. I said 600 miles. I think it's 610 miles from Hormuz to Karg Island. And I think we just said 400, 450, which is, hey, in that part of the world, it's close. Just Karg Island. I mean, the scale of Iran, it's 90 plus million people. It's massive. You put it on the map of the United States, I think it takes up like the eastern half of the country. It's enormous, right? And it's also like the surface of the moon, as you know. It's got mountains like the Rocky Mountains. It's got deserts. I mean, it's an inhospitable place. And Tehran is so far north from the Persian Gulf. I mean, it's all the way up to the northern part of the country. But even talking about Karg Island. Karg Island is 600 miles, folks. This is not the Strait of... this is not the Long Island Sound, okay? This is 610 miles from the mouth to get to Karg Island. I mean, even to mount an assault from there, you probably have to come to an Arab country, correct?
Right. You, if you try to do a naval assault, you have to go through the Straits of Hormuz, and then you face the Iranian coast. And then remember, it's not just the Iranian coast. They have missiles and drones everywhere in the mountains around Iran, and they've flown them all the way to Cyprus, these Shahed drones. So they can shoot these drones from deep inside of Iran and hit one of our ships in the Gulf. Remember when Trump first took office, we were fighting the Houthis to get the Red Sea open, and we lost 2 F-18s off an aircraft carrier because they weren't tied down, because these aircraft carriers had to take evasive maneuvers to dodge drones and missiles from the Houthis. So that same kind of scenario could happen inside the Gulf, and all it takes is for them to get lucky once. We have to be on guard every time. We have to defend against every single missile and every single drone. They just have to get one hit on one of our ships, and if it's one of these ballistic missiles, or, you know, some people say they have, we don't know, it's not confirmed yet, that they have hypersonic anti-ship missiles, but they do have anti-ship missiles that go Mach 3, Mach 4, Mach 5 plus is what gets you into the hypersonic realm. But if they're shooting from the coastline missiles that go Mach 3, Mach 4, that's a very dangerous situation to get in our ship, the Karg Island, to support the assault. We can fly in from Qatar, and we have bases all over Kuwait. We could do that. We could launch from there. But the problem is, when we move the assets into Kuwait or into Qatar to stage for the assault on Karg Island, the Russian and Chinese satellites are watching everything what we do, and they give all that information to Iran. So it's hard to obtain the element of surprise. And if you get the element of surprise, how can you maintain it with all these satellites everywhere?
Now, let's go to the New York Post. Can we go to the New York Post for a second? I want to get, because they're working on a plan. It's exclusive. The New York Post has done great reporting on all the military operations. This is if President Trump, because remember, his focus has been from the beginning, and this is the 12-day war, when he had the massive expeditionary force, was to basically take the nuclear program of the Iranians and totally obliterate it, which he said happened back in June of last year. And I think he was absolutely correct. Now, there may be certain aspects of it. This is supposedly supposed to cover the aspects of it. But just take a second and walk through what the building blocks of this are, because this is a sophisticated plan, but it also requires a lot of folks there for a while. Walk us through it, Tej.
Yeah, this is a very complex attack. Pickaxe Mountain, that's the one everybody's talking about lately. That's the one we did not hit last June, and that's the deepest one. They say it's 100 meters deep, and it's buried under hard rock, not granite, but hard rock. Fordo is the one we hit last June with the 6 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrators that the B-2s dropped, and that one is 80 meters deep. And now they're saying we don't know if we destroyed everything. So to really destroy everything, you have to get into these mountains and set explosives and blow them up from the inside out. The mission that the New York Post is talking about will be one of our special mission units, like SEAL Team 6 or Delta Force would do this. They're trained in the nuclear nonproliferation arena, and then the Army would send in their EOD team with them. And these guys, they specialize in weapons of mass destruction. So first off, we have to get in there.
So hang on a second. You have we have air supremacy, right? Not superiority, air supremacy. So you'd be able to do an insertion, but they've got it covered with their own combat troops, right? So you're going to have to take out the combat troops that surround it, then get in, do the work, and then extract everybody, correct? There's like 3 phases of this operation?
Supposedly we have air supremacy, but remember last time when the F-15 got shot down, when the 2 pilots were on the ground, we had an F-15 shot down. We had an A-10 shot down that ejected over the Gulf, and we had another A-10 hit in the air, and then multiple tankers. So we've destroyed all their radar batteries and all their surface air batteries that are on the ground. But the problem is they have them underground and they can roll them out, and they're still shooting down our drones. A lot of them. We've lost like 35 drones in the air. So it's still considered contested airspace. We don't own all of the airspace. So most of our bombing runs are coming. We get to the edge of the contested airspace and shoot from there. So flying deep in there, we can do it. I mean, look, we flew into Abbottabad, Pakistan, to do the Bin Laden range on stealth helicopters. I mean, we have all kinds of crazy technology we haven't used yet. So we can get in there, but the question is, can we get in there and not be hit by any anti-aircraft that they have, in a cave or in a missile somewhere? Because remember, Iran is a ring of mountains, so we have to go into that ring, and Pickaxe Mountain is basically dead center in the middle of Iran, and then Fordow is near there. So we have to go into these. We have to fly into these facilities. We have to fly a large assault force in there, of special mission unit guys that are trained to do this, and then we have to have blocking positions. Another whole force that would basically create a steel ring around the assaulters. So they're going to be facing outboards. The assaulters are facing in. So the assaulters work the target, and then the blocking force and blocking positions, they have to form a ring of containment and protect the assaulters. So, because once these planes get in there and the gig is up, Iran's going to send everything they have there, and the ground troops are not a big deal. Our guys can go through them like a hot knife through butter. The problem is when they start shooting ballistic missiles and rockets at the assaulters, and then also the drones. Remember, we don't have any idea how many drones I've seen reports they still have 70,000 to 80,000 of these Shahed drones, and they have underground factories that are manufacturing, and these cost, the estimates are 10 to 40,000 a drone, and they start shooting waves at drones at these assault sites, and that could be where the problem comes in. And our guys are worth so much. What is the cost worth? And then on the other hand, non-nuclear proliferation is worth so much, so the cost is there. And our guys that are doing these jobs, they know the risk, and they signed up for this. It's a voluntary mission. And in these units, you go through multiple levels of vetting to get there. So they're ready to die for this mission. But is it worth it? That's the question. And what is going to be the cost of this? Or should we just fly more B-2s over there and continue to drop these 30,000-pound bombs on these sites, the Pickaxe and Fordow, and then the other sites, Natanz, that's above ground. That's where they shot the Tomahawks last June. So that's the question, Steve. Is the cost worth the outcome?
Okay, hang on for a second, Tej. We're going to go to a short commercial break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk some coffee when we come back with Tej Gill. He left being a gunman for the United States military, served for decades in service to our country, and then founded the greatest coffee company going. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to be back with Tej Gill in the War Room in just a moment.
For the games you want to play, bring it on and I will fight to the end. Just watch and see. It's all started, everything's begun, and you are over. 'Cause we're taking down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP.
With the 2026 midterms coming at us like a freight train, gun grabbers are
Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of Real America's Voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because they have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
Howdy, Rav fams. It's Warbringer here. Love you all. Rav is the only place to get the truth, and this is the only way we're going to be able to restore our republic. Love you all. See you in the chat.
This is Diane from Rhode Island. Why do I love Real America's Voice? Because they deliver us facts from hosts who love America and love God. What's not to like?
All right, let's talk about Warpath Coffee. If you haven't seen it, go to the site. It's warpath.coffee. And if you're part of the War Room Posse, use promo code War Room. It's 20% off this weekend. Go to the reviews tab and read the reviews. We've got over 19,000 five-star reviews on our website. These are all real reviews. We don't pay you to leave the reviews. Once people order our coffee, you get a review email, and we have over 19,000 on our website. Plus, we have Amazon reviews. So people absolutely love our coffee. The K-Cups are on the screen right now. We were out of them for almost a month. We just restocked them this week. That's our number one bestseller is the 42 count Mariners Blend K-Cup. It is amazing. People love it. It's the best K-Cup out there. We've got espresso. We've got a breakfast blend. We've got decaf. We have flavored coffee. The flavors are going to be vanilla, dark chocolate, and peppermint mocha. And then the holiday blend, we keep that stocked year round now. We used to only do it during Christmas time, but people email and call and ask for us to bring it back. So we just run the holiday blend year round. The espresso, it's Italian Frogman espresso. It's a light roast espresso. We did that. So it's less bitter than normal espresso. And that one, same thing, flies off the shelf. People love it. Like, people are obsessed with this espresso. We've basically got a cult following on Warpath Coffee. It's incredible. I took the Navy SEALs. We had the best guns and best equipment, and we always were taught to upgrade our stuff. So when I started the coffee, I wanted to have the best coffee. We roasted on a perforated drum, and by doing that, we don't burn the beans at all. That's the key, is not burning the beans and using fresh premium beans. And you can drink all of our blends straight black, even the espresso. The espresso you can drink straight black. So it's got very low acid content. It's not bitter, and it is out of this world. People absolutely love our coffee. Like, we actually turn non-coffee drinkers into coffee drinkers. I have people call me, and it's like some of my friends like, dude, I don't drink coffee, and I tried your coffee and I'm drinking it every day now. So Warpath is the deal. The website is warpath.coffee, and use promo code WARROOM for 20% off this weekend. Warpath.coffee, promo code WARROOM for 20% off this weekend.
Tej is absolutely amazing. By the way, you were such a natural bringing the show back in. I'm starting to worry about my anchor seat. I think I've got another co-host possibility. Tej, one more time. What I'm so proud is that when you left, you said, "Hey, if I do this, I'm gonna build the best coffee company ever." The coffee's unbelievable. It's the champagne of coffee. It's made to be consumed black, no cream or sugar. You will absolutely love it. Where do people go one more time to look at all the reviews that prove that?
Yeah, go to warpath.coffee and click on the reviews tab. And like I said earlier, these are all real reviews. We don't pay anybody. We don't even give coupons for the reviews. We just send out an email and people review them. And it's over 19,000 5-star. Like, it's crazy. People, once you drink the coffee, everybody said we have a huge customer return rate. So it's warpath.coffee and use promo code warroom and you get 20% off this weekend. And just read the reviews. You'll get hooked.
Amazing. Thank you, Tej.
Thanks,
Let's
Steve.
go back to spend family time. And thank you for doing all the analysis, breaking all this down. I know you and the community, the special operator community, have a big vested interest in this with all your compadres and folks very tied up in all this. That's why it's so serious and people got to treat it seriously and about what the alternatives are. Trevor Comstock, Sacred Human Health, brother. We're going to end on an upbeat note with you and Tej talking about two great companies started by young entrepreneurs. What do you got for us?
Yeah, great to see you, Steve. So just heads up, we are still currently running the sale for our Tallow Moisturizer and Sacred Healing Salve. So if you did want to take advantage of it, you can use code SKIN at checkout for 20% off any one-time order. And then I just wanted to touch on the Sacred Healing Salve just because we've been having amazing reviews coming in from people that have had amazing success with it in regards to healing a lot of knee pain and elbow pain that they've been struggling with for a while, as well as helping to heal a lot of cuts and bruises pretty fast. So for anyone that doesn't know, within the product, we have the Comfrey, and Comfrey's just been used for centuries to support things like pain relief, inflammation, bruising, and even tissue repair. So, a lot of people love to use it for things like sore muscles. If you have joint pain, swelling, even arthritis support, it helps calm that down quite a bit. But basically, you just take a little bit, you rub it onto any area of your body that needs relief. And then we also paired the Comfrey with other nourishing herbs to help soothe things like the cuts, the scrapes, the bruises, and even insect bites. That helps calm those down quite a bit. So overall, it's just an incredibly powerful and versatile product. And like I mentioned, if you do struggle with things like the joint pain, the muscle soreness, or have some burns and scrapes, this is an organic product that heals a lot of those things pretty quickly and provides lasting relief. So I encourage people to check that product out. And as always, if you have questions, you can reach out to us.
Yeah, how do they where they go on the site and how they reach out to you? Because I know that I've gotten tremendous feedback on people that have actually contacted you and you've walked into the products. Where do they go?
Yeah, 100%. So you can go to sacredhumanhealth.com or just type in Sacred Human to Google. And like I mentioned, through this weekend, you can use code SKIN at checkout for 20% off the Tallow Moisturizer as well as the Sacred Healing Salve.
Right before we go, just spend a minute on your focus on being an American company with American. You do everything. You've put this together with a very pro-American outlook, and to the thing that you've walked away from operating margin and for your profits being higher to do this. Walk me just through it. We got about a minute.
Yeah. So originally, part of the reason why we started the business is because we noticed that all these other, supplement companies and health product companies were outsourcing everything, usually to China, where they can make everything pretty cheap. But obviously, with that, it comes a lot of issues with quality control. So we just wanted to start a company where everything's produced right here in the USA. It's definitely more expensive, but like I mentioned before, we don't mind taking a hit on the margins to produce quality products where we have real insight and quality over the products that we're making, as well as the ingredients that we're using. So all of our products are also third-party lab tested. So we're testing for things like heavy metals and purity, which most companies don't do. So that's always been our main focus, is just to make sure that we're producing the best products possible in the USA, supporting our country and not just outsourcing everything overseas like most companies do. So that's always our promise. Like I said, yes.
It's fantastic. It's amazing. Great company and a great spirit. Trevor, thank you. Thank you for taking time away from the weekend to join us here. Big discount. Sacred Human Health. Go check it out. Immerse yourself in the information. Okay, we're going to be around on social media all weekend. If anything's happening, maybe we'll jump back on here. See you back here at 10 a.m. Otherwise, see you back here at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Monday morning, when you're back in the War Room.
We're united, strong.
country is under attack. The radical left woke agenda is
Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of Real America's Voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities.